Folks, do you realize the era we're in? We are in the era of information. We are in the era of internet. We are in the era where every third person you know may have a podcast or be some sort of content creator. And when I was younger, I thought, oh, look, this is great. There are no barriers to put out your piece, to put out your perspective, your opinion out there. But over time, I've thought, oh no, there are no barriers to put out your piece, to put out your perspective, to put out your opinion onto social media. And I know you're going to talk about, well, YouTube has their own guidelines and TikTok and Spotify and this and that. But folks, we're going to have a conversation today about what it means when we do not have fact checkers on social media. When we hear people make these claims, and I know you've seen them, right? Go to the trending page of YouTube. Some of the most popular YouTube creators, look at their YouTube titles, right? It'll say something like, the routine that changed my life. This video will cure your depression. 5 things to do to become unrecognizable. So everybody's out here giving advice and everybody's telling you what to do and what they've done. And God bless them. Maybe they're doing it in good heart. And I'd like to think so and give them the benefit of the doubt. But there's also no fact checking. So when I want to upload something to YouTube, or anyone wants to for that matter, there's a couple of guidelines. I'm sure if I flashed a firearm, that would be against guidelines. I'm sure if I used some sort of music that I didn't have rights to, that would be against guidelines. I'm sure during COVID, if I was to start talking about COVID, something would pop up and say, be careful for COVID-19 misinformation. Press this button to learn more. But folks, for a lot of things, whether it be financial related, whether it be mental health related, whether it be physical health related, YouTube does not fact check. Like, there's not a human being sitting behind listening to your video before it gets uploaded. Why can this be tricky? Folks, you can make a video and say almost anything you want. Almost anything you want. I could tell you that I read a study last night that showed that they had 200 people. 100 of them had lots of ice cream and 100 of them didn't over their lifetime. And the people who had lots of ice cream turned out to have much more financially well-off lives than the people who didn't have ice cream. And you have no way of fact-checking what I just said. Now, I know I'm exaggerating and that sounds ridiculous and it's meant to be, but imagine it wasn't and I chose my words carefully. Did you know eating whole grain bread increases the amount of serotonin that you have in your body, so it actually makes you happier? Did you know that just breathing, just meditation, focusing on inhaling and exhaling can actually lower stress? Did you know that everybody should do a dopamine detox at least once in their lives, and if you do, it can help you live 5 years longer? Folks, was any of what I just said true? The middle one, the breathing one, that's the only one I have a little bit of knowledge on. But the first one and the last one, I just made that up. I don't even know what I was saying. That was on the spot. To show you how careful we have to be when people can speak well. And they use these words like dopamine detox. What does that even mean? Do a dopamine detox for a year. Like, do you even know what that means? Well, yes, dopamine is when I get pleasure and satisfaction. So if I eat a cupcake, then dopamine gets released. Well, not exactly. Yes, there is dopamine. It is involved with pleasure, but it's involved with seeking and getting to a goal, achieving a goal. But one of the problems with the dopamine detox thing, just to pick an example so I can elaborate on this for you, is, folks, eating the muffin is not the only thing that gives you dopamine. Watching pornography is not the only thing that gives you dopamine. Scoring the goal in your soccer game is not the only thing that gives you dopamine. It's the anticipation of that thing happening that you start to release dopamine. So people are talking, oh, you go on this dopamine detox. If you're thinking about going to school tomorrow and you like it, and you're thinking about where you're going to sit and how you're going to go about the project, and I'm going to tell Sarah to do this part, and then John's going to do that part, and then I'm going to brainstorm with Keith. Folks, you're building anticipation. Even if you're not watching pornography, if you're thinking about pornography, if you're thinking on the way home, maybe I have a chance to watch some tonight before my girlfriend gets home or whatever, that thinking, that anticipation, that do I have time, that can release it in and of itself. So what we really have is this. We have an age where the barriers are low, which means many people can put their words out there. The fact-checking is poor, to say the least. And it's either misinformation, it's either filled with liars who know that they're lying, or people who really believe what they're saying and they don't know any better. And maybe shame on them for not doing more education before coming out there and opening their mouths. So people have recognized and say, oh, look, it's not the information that people crave necessarily, it's hope. It's being likable. It's like you can be an 18, 19, 20-year-old, and if you're likable or if you're funny or if you're entertaining and you tell people what they want to hear, that's how you can build an audience. So maybe what I say isn't as important as how I say it. And I'm not saying I support this. I am not saying I advocate for this, but I see this all around me. When you're a student and you read research papers, and the ending of the paper says something like, this paper concludes that SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, could possibly be associated with an improvement in mood in certain individuals. Listen to the words I used. There was nothing definitive in what I just said. This thing could possibly, in this certain demographic, I wouldn't even say cause. It says may be associated or suggests moderate benefits for this group. And at the bottom it says more research is needed. Right? And then you go onto YouTube or you go onto TikTok and you go onto YouTube Shorts and it says, this is how you cure depression. Folks, if you're out there and if you've ever made a video about how to cure depression or cure anxiety, you don't need to make videos on YouTube. You gotta have seminars around the world. Psychologists, psychiatrists, people who've been in the field for 10, 15, 20 years, they don't know how to cure depression. I don't know of anyone who does. I've never heard of anyone who does. So if you do, you gotta hold seminars, not just for regular people watching to entertain the 13, 14-year-olds. You gotta go talk to the psychiatrists over at Harvard. Let them know about this thing that you've discovered. Because if I go ask a clinical psychologist, hey, can you cure depression? If they say yes, I'd be very, very skeptical, and I'd probably think of them as a liar, even if they've been in the field for 15, 20 years, because they wouldn't say yes. They would say, well, what do you mean by that? Are you referring to depressive symptoms, Daniel? Or are you referring to someone who meets the clinical criteria of major depressive disorder, or persistent depressive disorder, or mood dysregulation disorder? How old are they, Daniel? Have they ever taken medication? Are they on medication? How long have they been experiencing these symptoms? Can we work on managing these symptoms? Can we work on mitigating the intensity? Can we work on helping this individual cope with their symptoms? But then you see the certain language. And coming from a researcher background, coming as a person who volunteered in 2 labs for over a year, it's very strange to me. One of my friends said, Daniel, I love your videos. They're fun, man. They're cool. But your titles suck. Your titles are not engaging. You don't write stuff like, this is how you cure your anxiety. This is how to become unrecognizable in 5 steps, right? And why? Why? If I make that claim, I have to guarantee that to you. I can't go to sleep at night knowing if I make a video that says, here are these 3 steps to become unrecognizable. Well, if you watch the video, and if you don't become unrecognizable, then that makes me a liar. So what am I going to be? Am I going to be a liar, someone who tells you something who knows is not true, or am I going to be someone who's incompetent, where I actually believe what I'm telling you and I don't know what I'm talking about? Have you heard of Bas Rutten? Very, very famous guy back late 90s, early 2000s. YouTube, Bas Rutten Pancration. Anyways, all you gotta know is, I wouldn't even call him MMA fighter because they gave it a different name back then. But it was very similar to MMA. He was on a podcast once, and they're talking to him. They said, hey, did you ever talk a lot of trash before your fights? Did you ever say, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to hurt you like this, I'm going to hit you with this punch? And Bas said, no. He said, because if I tell you what I'm going to do to you, then I have to do it. There's an extra added pressure. If I tell you I'm going to beat you in 1 round, I better beat you in 1 round. If I tell you I'm going to drop you with my left hook to the liver, That's what I have to do. And then he says, when we're entering the fight, like let's say we've been promoting this fight for 2 weeks, when we're walking out during our entrance, I can hear the promo, right? Or we're sitting at the press conference, it's showing the promotion that we've done, and I can hear myself say those things. Well, now I have to back it up. So when I'm on YouTube and I see a video that says, do this to increase, to double your testosterone, sleep 8 hours a day and eat broccoli and it'll double your testosterone. Really? Really? How did you figure this out? On yourself? On a sample size of one or a group of people? How did you measure testosterone? What duration of period did you do this over? How do we know that you're not lying or you're not making something up? Because you can use Photoshop. Is there a third party involved? Is there some sort of medical professional that can support your claim? Because if I do what you do and my testosterone does not double by sleeping 8 hours a night and by eating broccoli, that makes you either incompetent or a liar. And we've got a lot of people out here, folks, that are incompetent or that are liars. I was scrolling on Facebook. I saw an online course and it said valued at $2,000 and it was crossed off now for free. Limited time, sign up here for the free blah 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 webinar. Folks, that's incredible. I've never seen something have such a huge discount. Ever. I mean, yeah, sure, you're at a store, you see a nice jacket, $90, it's on sale for $60, that's great. You've never seen something over $100 given away for free. Unless it's beat up, unless it's something wrong with it. Could you imagine walking into a Gucci store or a Louis Vuitton store, there's a $2,000 bag and the number's crossed off and the person's like, yeah, it's for free, go for it, it's yours. What are you thinking if you're me? If you're about to buy the bag, you go, what the hell happened to this bag? Is this a murder weapon? Is there money in here? Are there drugs in here? What is there a bomb in here? Why are you giving away this $2,000 thing for free? Oh, because you're such a saint and you're such a man of the people and you want to help people out and give them value. Oh, okay. Because you're actually sending mixed signals. When you put $2,000 value on something, you go, this is how much it's worth. You go, oh, wow, that's a valuable thing. But then when you scratch the price, you say it's no longer worth $2,000. It's now for free. You see the problem here, folks? You can't give someone something for free, but then expect them to value it for its earlier price. And that's the expectance with a lot of these snake oil salesmen who want to sell you their course or their book or whatever other BS nonsense they're trying to sell you. You get to come to my seminar. It was $3,000, but for a limited time, it's going to be free. Come on down. Well, if it's free, then it's worth nothing, really. Clearly, you don't value it. No. You didn't hear me? It was worth $3,000. Yeah, what happened, man? Why did you go from $3,000 to zero? Because I'm a man of the people and I want to help you out and I want to give you this lifetime opportunity. Folks, I know I talk about mental health. And I know this isn't about shaming other people. I do not like seeing people get taken advantage of. And unfortunately, the health industry, the muscle industry, the testosterone industry, the supplement industry, and now, actually I shouldn't say now and always, the mental health industry, I'm seeing people get taken advantage of, and it rubs me off the wrong way. I don't like that a 60-year-old woman is paying $400 to a fortune teller. I don't like that you could speak to a psychologist for $200 an hour, but you could speak to a life coach for $450 an hour. And only one of them has had professional training, which you know of for sure. The other one, maybe they have, maybe they haven't. It's kind of like taking a gamble. So the story becomes this. There's a lot of people out here saying wild things. I've heard things on podcasts as seemingly innocent from, you should compliment everybody every day, even if you don't mean it. Because being kind to people trumps being honest. 2, if you're in an abusive relationship, whether it be physical or emotional, you should stay with your partner. Because people are, and he used a word that starts with the letter P, they don't want to endure anymore. So if your partner is physically putting their hands on you, you should stay in that relationship. Sometimes someone makes an argument and you see it in you, there's a response is needed. A response is justified. And sometimes you hear something so out there, so confusing and weird and strange that you're thinking, did I hear that right? Is that really what you said? You really are advising men in their mid-20s to get vasectomies? You're really advising everybody at the age of blank to do blank? Everybody has to wake up at 6 in the morning? The way to up my testosterone is to eat this much broccoli a day and sleep this much? Really? Everybody should have kids. Everybody shouldn't have kids. If you live with your parents, by the time you're 22, you're a loser. If you don't live with your parents, by the time you're 22, you're a loser. What are we doing here, folks? There's so many voices. There's so many voices. How do you know who to listen to? The one who has the most education and experience. Well, not in my experience. In my experience, the people who we listen to are the ones that we like the most. Going back to the earlier examples, maybe they're just the most fun. Maybe they're the most friendly. They're the ones who make us laugh. There's a lot of people who speak about mental health, who give dating advice. You go on Instagram, dating coach, dating expert. What does that even mean, man? How can you qualify as a dating expert? What have you done? I've helped hundreds of people. Well, okay, but how did you get into this? I did some research. Oh, like in a lab? Like you publish articles? Oh, no, I read a book or two. Oh, okay, so reading a book or two made you a researcher. And then when you helped one person, that made you an expert. Oh, okay. Imagine talking to a doctor. Hey, doc, you go to medical school? No. I've helped multiple people. I've told them where to stick their Band-Aids. And like, how did you, like, and before that, like, how did you become a doctor? Oh, I just watched a couple of movies. I watched Grey's Anatomy. And one day I thought I could do this. That's weird, right, folks? And I know it's weird, and we're all okay with it. So I just want to bring this to your attention. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful who you give your attention to. Your attention is valuable. Don't just give it away for free, okay? Make them earn it. Listen to it all. Entertain a thought, but don't accept it. Don't accept it. I'm sure I've made videos with some questionable titles and maybe things here and there that didn't make too much sense, but be careful. Always think, who am I listening to and what are they getting out of this? And if they're promising you too much too soon, it's probably not true. And the reason I say this is, folks, I've seen those videos. I've followed those videos. I've tried to get a six-pack abs in 2 weeks. I did all the exercises, and guess what? When that video didn't change my life, when I didn't become unrecognizable, when I didn't get the six-pack, who is to blame? Was it because I wasn't trying hard enough? God forbid the content creator made a claim that he couldn't back up. So, folks, be careful, especially when it comes to your health.